Hello guys. So we just got the new update with Kelly, which is crazy. We got Rex, and we also got Kelly. We also got the transoceanic shipping and I think pilot version, which is right here, which is really cool. I want to go over, is Rex and Kelly must summons and should they be prioritized? So I'm going to engage in one at a time, which I will be going over Rex, and we'll look at Rex's abilities to determine if it is a must summon or it's a pass. However, I'm pretty sure everyone who is already watching this already knows it might already be a must summon. However, I'm going to go into depth on the mech itself and then kind of compare it to something else. So if we look at this mech, after initiating combat, if rear attack is triggered, gains damage plus 6%. This ability right here is not really good on its own. Like, I don't really find this ability to be really strong because it still requires you to re-attack. And if you don't re-attack the next turn, then like, you can't really get the stacks up. Like, this makes sense when you're using characters like snipers, or if you're using things like load raid or melee characters that constantly re-attack after breaking apart or hitting a target. So this actually is really good for those pilots. However, anything outside of that isn't really that good. So for me, this is kind of lower on the spectrum, but also kind of high because it's 30% at max stacks. But the real question is how easy can you get those max stacks, right? And if the pilot does allow you to get those max stacks really fast, then Rex becomes more valuable. However, if we're looking at consistency on getting the damage really early on, for example, in the first turn, I would probably suggest something on the lines, maybe Dread Talons mods or Fang Frame. But I think Rex's ability is far better than Fang Frame, as you would only need 4 stacks of this to reach 24%, which is already higher. But to get the 6 stacks would require you to do this, well, you would have to re-attack 5 times just in the same round, which if you're trying to do a 2-turn kill or even a 1-turn kill, this kind of falls short. So this is why if we're just looking at this ability alone and excluding a lot of factors, it is not as good compared to other damage abilities, but still good. And if we look at fortification mod, this by far is one of the best built-in mods for a mech. The ability to ramp up damage for each buff you possess and also increase the duration by 1 is massive, because this allows you to carry on your buffs to the next turn, and especially if you have mods on your guns that increases hit rate and damage, and if you get healed by Blazer or any other abilities such like A Glow, for example, that puts 1+ movement on you for I think 1 turn or something like that, or for the next turn. I'm not sure if it, now that I think about it, I would have to test that if the next turn for A Glow can be extended by this mech at Rainbow, but I would have to test it. But yeah, I just personally, I think the fortification mod from Rex is just phenomenally one of the best Rainbow mods for a light mech. I would probably put this right next door to Glacier, as I prioritize Glacier at like the very top of light mechs. This goes side by side just because of this one ability right here. Now, at first, I was going to sack Rex into Dread Talon, but then I found out that it had the fortification mod, and now that I'm thinking about it, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to more than likely sacrifice a Dread Talon mech for its 25% damage mod and equip it to Rex instead. And the only reason why I'm doing that is, as I said before, the 25% damage mod paired with Rex's mod allows you to not only start off with very high damage, but to also ramp up your damage, as well as the end goal would probably look like a 55% damage buff in total, which would increase and also benefiting from a plus 10% crit rate. However, I kind of wish that the crit rate mod was not a crit rate but was accuracy instead. since most of the time you will be using Rex on a sniper, and maybe on a shotgunner or another light user such as Marcus. So yeah, I think that would just be my initial thoughts. And do I think that Rex has any comparison in terms of, would you be replacing Rex with any other ST out there? The only STs that really come to mind that I think you would be outright replacing might be Dread Talon, as you would be sacrificing Dread Talon for Rex. And why would that be? Is you would be sacrificing the mods on Dread Talon to be placing it into Rex, and that's why you would more than likely be replacing Dread Talon with Rex, because you would just swap the mods to Rex instead. However, like I said, the only issue is that you will lose the 10% accuracy mod, so maybe not entirely you'll be swapping them out. That's just based off what I'm seeing and what I'm noticing. However, I don't know if that 10% is really that much worth it compared to 10% crit rate, but in most cases, hit rate tends to be more worth it than crit anyway. So maybe you wouldn't be swapping, or you probably wouldn't be swapping out the mechs. You would probably just be having one pair of Dread Talon and a infused version of Rex on the side with Dread Talon and with Dread Talon mods infused into Rex. Now, I guess I will kind of talk into the idea of Rex and should you summon it. I think Rex is a 100% must summon. I think ideally you might want two. You might want Rex as a mech to have, and well, actually you would actually want two Rex to be exact. The reason being is it would ideally be, you would ideally want two Rexes, so then you can build two side by side, or just make one Rainbow Rex. I think making just one Rainbow Rex though might be the most optimal in this situation because of the Rainbow ability that it does grant, which is the increased duration, which I really hope I can get two versions of Rex, but I don't think I'll have enough tickets and resources to summon two Rexes, so I'm just going to summon for one Rex. And if we go to Kelly, so if we look at Kelly, we're going to kind of take a look at Kelly's abilities real quick. So she has this thing called Special Reload, which is consumes one stack of reinforced ammo to gain improved fire, which when actively attacking with a ranged weapon, the skill multiplier goes to 15%, gets increased by 15%, can trigger one time, removed after triggering or when action ends, can continue action with remaining movement, available when equipped with a ranged weapon. So at A3 she does gain, it looks more like stat bonuses, sniper rifle weight minus 15%. So we're gonna go to Bionics, and when HP is full, damage was 15%. This is good. This kind of reminds me of Sylvie's ability. I think it's called Suppression. Where it's like plus 20% extra damage. That's kind of good. So let's keep going. When initiating combat, if this attack lands a critical hit, the target cannot retaliate. This is niche. Kind of niche and really good when it comes down to fighting melee characters. Nowhere to run, use a sniper rifle to attack a target dealing 120% damage, enters aiming mode before attacking. And then when you have the improved fire state, applies exposure 2, which I think this allows your next shot to focus the part that you originally shot, because that's how weighting works. It kind of allows random bullets to focus more on the part that you've shot with this skill. And then if you move on, when in the improved fire state, applies damage up to allies engaging in link attacks after combat. This right here is really good. It almost reminds me of Mary's. Whenever Mary does her link attack, she's able to provide everyone around her with extra damage. I think that's how it works. Kind of reminds me of that. I think this is kind of okay. So for Shower, uses a sniper rifle to shoot a target 2 times with each shot, dealing 75% damage for 150%. If this attack does not destroy a part when in the improved fire state, it triggers a rear attack after combat. This is really good when you're targeting just the body. And then amas, amazement, amazement. Anyway, I'm gonna say as amassment. At end of action, for each special load executed during this action, vision shot multiplier increases by 50%. Okay, this is just bad. I personally, I don't really find vigilant shot abilities that good, so I'm gonna say this one's kind of bad. And her last one, which is trump card, immediately gains 2 stacks of reinforced ammo, can continue action with remaining movement. So it reinforced ammo gains improved fire after executing special load code. So if I was going to be using 3 skills, I will tell you the skills I'd be using right now. It's going to be trump card, 100%. It's going to be shower, and it's going to be nowhere to run. I think having the ability to aim for 3 AP is really good, and especially with exposure, which allows you to lead this into this shot right here, where the 2 shots will focus on the part you have previously hit with this part. However, and not only that, but it also, when the enemy only has a body part remaining, this just gets way better. And then if we look at her neural drive, so when initiating combat, if the target is destroyed, gains 1 stack of reinforced ammo. That's really good. When destroying a target, additionally restores 1 AP. That's standard. When in the improved fire state, gains an additional 10% crit rate. When in the improved fire state, gains an additional 1% crit damage for every 5% crit rate. And then reinforced ammo gained at start of action is increased to 2 stacks. And then we have the rear attack chances right here. Now, if you're not going to put anything into Kelly, which is like no super bionics, if you're just gonna put no super bionics, just go for this one right here. The rear attack trigger chances per turn. This is the one you want to go for. And if you are going to put bionics, I think personally, I would just, if I was going to put bionics, I'd just go all in. I'd go all the way to CP16. I don't think that you should stop at, maybe like stop at CP10, but like everything after that is just more damage, and the reinforced ammo gained at start of action increases to 2 stacks instead. So you start up with 2 reinforced ammo. That's pretty good, and actually might make room for another ability if you don't want to use trump card. So what is my verdict? I think, I also wanted to bring up that for Kelly as well, each stack grants 5% additional crit up to 15%, which we have seen that before, and it's literally on Sylvie, which is hilarious. And then she has a sniper rifle weight of minus 15%, which I think is for her signature weapon in the future, or for a signature weapon now, which is also Natalie's weapon. However, I do want to talk about Natalie's weapon, which we do have, which is the magic flute. And I think a lot of people don't really know what it does, but I'm going to tell you the part that most people are interested in is, so the magic flute, which is Natalie's signature weapon, is if no movement has occurred before a normal attack, this attack can be aimed and can be launched a maximum of 3 times per round. So your basic attack can be aimed in 3 times per round, but it requires you not to move. So I do want you to keep that in mind when you're countering in Natalie's weapon. However, it does come with 2 other abilities, which I will also say, which I'll also, I guess, include, because now I'm kind of just leaving it hanging, which is, she also gets this thing called information gathering effect. Information gathering restores an additional 1 AP, and when a mech within its range is destroyed, critical hit rate is increased by an additional 5%, up to a maximum of 25%. And then the other ability that it comes with is, when using a sniper rifle to engage targets at a distance of 3 tiles or more, accuracy and damage are increased by 10% for each additional tile of distance. Accuracy and damage increases by 5%, up to a maximum of 25%. So we know that normal snipers only reach 4 tiles. So it looks like you'll only be getting the 10% if you're not using it with Natalie, which is still kind of good. I mean, 10% accuracy and damage, that's pretty huge for a sniper rifle. And will I be summoning for Kelly? You bet I know in a previous video I wasn't going to summon for Kelly. However, I kind of thought to myself that no, I think I'm going to summon for Kelly because one, I can actually afford it. As you can see, I can very much afford it. And I was actually going to save most of my pilots, but then I realized I had pledges for Asuka as well. And I more than likely will have enough tickets by the time Asuka does get here and all the other new characters. So I wasn't really afraid of that when I kind of thought about it. And looking at Kelly and having Natalie's weapon also being released as well with Kelly, it almost becomes a no-brainer and a must summon at this point. This character is bringing so much to the table, including aim, immense amount of damage, and basically a very similar kit to Sylvie, which is high critical, but Kelly is just a more ramped up damage Sylvie, which, like I said prior, was that Sylvie's role in general is a add control. Kelly is more of a damage or a DPS, a ramping DPS pilot. Sylvie can't deal with bosses, but does extremely well with controlling the map since she can move a lot and she can cheat. Her skills do not prohibit her from moving. So even if she is moving or not moving, she still benefits. Kelly, on the other hand, looks like from her skills and looking at Natalie's weapon, you kind of have to not move. So if we're looking at those two differences, if you can sub in someone that can do Sylvie's job, which is ad control, then you can definitely sub in Kelly damage for damage control. Which is great because we don't really have a lot of damage control and we probably lack a lot of damage control since the only damage control we usually have right now I think is primarily it's Marcus, Frida, and well now it's Kelly in terms of DPS or single target DPS. I think this will be it for today's video. You guys let me know down in the comments if you guys are going to summon for this. Do you agree with my take on Rex and Kelly? Do you think they are must summons or do you think they're not must summons? Because for me, I think both are 100% a must summon. I'm gonna head out. Peace.
My kitchen window, there's a happy parade. Confused as the question lingers, should I join them today? Am I allowed to pretend I'm good?